Good morning, students. Let's discuss another previous year question that is based on the criticism of Francis Jeffrey, who refers to Southey and his friends William Wordsworth and Coleridge. Okay, in this criticism of Jeffrey, William Wordsworth got offended that Jeffrey is particularly criticizing his works. All right, so we are going to discuss everything, and the most important thing that we have to understand here is that in criticism, Francis Jeffrey is someone who also called these poets as lake poets. It's a derogatory term. Okay, we are going to discuss everything as we go forward in this video. But here is the question from 2018 December UGC NET examination, and that is: who viewed Wordsworth, Southey, and Coleridge as representative of a sect of poets dissenters from the established systems in poetry and criticism, who constituted the most formidable conspiracy against sound judgment in matters political? So the answer to this question is Francis Jeffrey. You have to make the notes on it. Actually, Francis Jeffrey did the review of Robert Southey's work Thalaba the Destroyer. That is a poem by Robert Southey. So Francis Jeffrey didn't talk much about the poem itself, but he went on to review Wordsworth and Coleridge's lyrical ballad in this review. That's a funny thing, that you are not reviewing someone's work, Thalaba the Destroyer by Robert Southey, and in the review of that work he is talking much about someone else's work like lyrical ballads, William Wordsworth and Coleridge. So that's a funny thing. Make a note of it. They can ask you in the examination that which of the following works are associated with the review of Francis Jeffrey. That's Thalaba the Destroyer. But before we continue this discussion, I want to share with you a news that we have started a new WhatsApp channel where we share the news related to competitive exams, PhD admissions, and job opportunities to the English literature students. So from now you don't have to worry about the opportunities as a literature students. It's a free of cost. You can simply check the link in the description below to join this WhatsApp channel that we have just created. Join it today. And now, without any further delay, let's continue with our discussion. Let's first look at the statement clearly. Jeffrey says that a sect of poets dissenters from the established system in poetry and criticism, who constituted the most formidable conspiracy against sound judgment in matters political. So looking at the statement, it is clear that Jeffrey is saying that new sort of poets have arrived now and they are going against the age of reason. Okay, the age of enlightenment, the 17th century. These romantic poets do not want to stick to conventional rules and regulations. These poets, these romantic poets, they want to write freely. They are appearing as rebellion who are bringing a new revolution in the world of literature. But then he argues that whether these new romantic poets are genius or not, they are replacing the age of reason. That's fine. Okay, you are replacing the age of enlightenment and age of reason. That's fine. But are you bringing something new to the table? Do these poets have originality? So actually at that period of time, there was a philosopher, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and his philosophies were great at that time. So these romantic poets were highly dependent on Rousseau's philosophies. So Jeffrey asked romantic poets that, are your thoughts original? What's the use that you are replacing the ongoing tradition, the age of enlightenment, and not bringing anything original at the table? You are just relying on the philosophy of some Geneva philosopher, some philosopher who is not from Britain, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and you're just copying and pasting the same philosophy and calling it as a new revolutionary movement, the age of romanticism. So on listening to this, William Wordsworth is always offended, and he says that this review of Thalaba is throughout under the disguise on attack upon me. So that was an attack on me. Always Jeffrey is always pinpointing me. So William Wordsworth always get offended by the review of Francis Jeffrey. So Francis Jeffrey is someone again who called these poets as lake poets, that these poets haunt around the lake of England. In Edinburgh Review, he mentioned this, that these poets are lake poets. So that was a derogatory remark. So Coleridge, St. Coleridge went on to defend himself that you cannot say that we are original or not. We have worked so hard in creating these works, writing these poems. So there is no such school like lake poets. Don't put us in a category. We have different voices and different works. Even Coleridge accuses that Jeffrey itself Jeffrey himself has plagiarized a lot of his content from Coleridge. There was an article that Jeffrey wrote in 1811, and Coleridge accused him that you are taking my words and writing into an article and saying that it's your original word. So shut your mouth, Francis Jeffrey. Do not talk about plagiarism. Okay, so in the ongoing discussion, William Hazlitt also jumps into this conversation in the discussion, and he says that Francis Jeffrey is not doing right. That do not criticize these lake poets, do not criticize these new poets. At least they have an independent minds. Maybe they are influenced by someone else. But when you read their poems, when you read the poems of Southey, Coleridge, their poems are the products of creative mind and independent mind. So these poets have maintained integrity. Okay, so do not criticize them. So actually, William Hazlitt was a straightforward person. He never hesitated to say anything, to say the things as they appear to be. So for example, he admired the poetry of romantics, but on the other hand, he criticized the friendship of Coleridge and Southey many times. That these two poets are friends because they have some personal advantage from each other. If they break their friendship, the romantic moment will get ceased to exist. So their friendship is on political level. They don't have great bond in between them. So Robert Southey and Coleridge friendship, William Hazlitt talks about. So even when Robert Southey, when he has to recite the poems of Coleridge, he didn't recite the poem of Coleridge in a manner that it is a poem written by a friend. So whenever he has to recite a poem in public, he always feel a little hesitated while reciting the poem of Coleridge. So that is evidence that William Hazlitt has noticed while he appeared in the public gatherings. So William Hazlitt has mentioned all of these things in his essays, but again he admired the writings of Wordsworth, Coleridge and Southey, and he too defended them from the remarks of Francis Jeffrey. So that is the overall story behind the statement that was asked in the UGC NET examination. That's why I suggest you to try to understand the literature in a story form, and the ongoing discussion between the poets and writers, what they are talking, how they are arguing with each other. So you have to understand all these things in a story form. But do not worry, Limitless Literature is here to help you build the command on the subject. And yes, if you like the video, do let me know in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. And also do not forget to like the video and subscribe the channel. I will see you soon in the next video. That's it for this. Thank you.